Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahalo, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley, and this is Reading with Your Kids, broadcasting from the vibrant and book-loving neighborhood of Reedville in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. This is more than just a podcast. It is a movement. Our mission is to help families grow stronger, closer, and kinder through the magic of reading together. And we are thrilled to have you with us on that journey. Help us spread the word by sharing this podcast with the people you love. Tell your kids' teachers, school librarians, and neighbors if they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Amazon Music, Audible, YouTube. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We've found three wonderful guests to entertain and enlighten you today. First up, she is Miss United World. Erin Chapman is here to celebrate Ronnie the Rock Climber. Later in the show, we'll meet Joe Woods, author of The Earnest Bridge of I Will. And later in the show, we'll take a listen back to a conversation we had with Malcolm Mitchell, telling us how he went from NFL Super Bowl champion to literacy advocate. Get ready, adventure fans. Toby Baxter is back. In I Heart River Home, the fourth thrilling book in the Adventures of Toby Baxter series, written by Tim Wright, 13-year-old Toby dives into his most unexpected quest yet. He's battling trolls, navigating the sandpit of love, and getting stuck with an LOVE compass. But when the girl of his dreams, Rainey, is kidnapped, Toby must summon more courage than ever before. All four books in the Adventures of Toby Baxter series have been honored as Reading with Your Kids certified great reads, each packed with fast-paced action, humor, and heart. So grab your copy of I Heart River Home today and join Toby on an unforgettable journey through River Home, where every page is an adventure. I am in the midst of royalty today. Joining us from Germany, our guest is here today to celebrate her picture book. It's called Ronnie the Rock Climber. Please welcome to the show the reigning Ms. United World, Erin Chapman. Hey, Erin, how are you?
Hey, Jed. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I'm so excited to be here today to talk about Ronnie the Rock Climber.
Well, I'm excited to have you on, too. I'm very excited to learn about Ronnie, but I do have to say this is the first time I've had a pageant queen on the show, and Erin is even wearing her sash for us today. So it's very cool. I feel honored.
Thank you. A little visual description for the podcast listeners. It is a white sash that says Ms. United World down the front, and it is covered in thick rhinestones from either side. So I've got my bling on, that's for sure.
You certainly do. And, you know, we'll probably touch on this later on, but I love that you described the sash for the people who are listening via the podcast, which would be 99.9% of the people. And I'm guessing that you might have picked up that habit because you work with the Paralympic Committee.
That is true. I do work for the International Paralympic Committee, and prior to moving to Germany, I worked for the Canadian Paralympic Committee. So making content accessible is something that I do every day in my job. And it's something that I try to bring to every aspect of my life because it takes nothing out of my day to make something accessible for somebody else.
What a lovely way to put that. I really like that a lot. So who's Ronnie?
So Ronnie, I have the book right here, is a young girl who dreams of adventure. She sits in her room all day reading about going climbing and skydiving and trekking through jungles alongside her cat Rory. But that's all she does. She just sits in her room. And so one day she tries to venture out to go climb a tree. She has lots of fun, but gets bored. And then gravity happens and she falls out of the tree, which shakes her confidence a little bit. So her parents introduce her to rock climbing, and through that she falls in love with the sport. And every time she gets to go to the gym, she gets to try a new adventure and imagines all these amazing adventures that she has every time she goes rock climbing in a safe and supportive environment.
Very, very cool. It's funny, Erin, just a couple of weeks ago, I was with a couple of buddies of mine that graduated high school together 5 decades ago. And we were talking about different adventures. And I was recalling to them that I had climbed this peak in Maine called Mount Katahdin. And it's two mountains, two peaks, and it's connected by this mile long. They call it the knife edge. And it's only 6 feet wide. And I did it, but I didn't really remember it. And so one of the buddies that was there with me, he looked it up and he found a video and he sent me the video. He goes, Jed, you did this? And I looked at him like going, yeah, I did. I wouldn't be able to do it now. That's for sure.
Yes, we definitely get more fears as we get older. So yeah, that's
Tell me that the whole, you on your website, it was telling me that you are a big proponent of encouraging kids, especially young girls, to get involved in sports that we don't typically think of. So like rock climbing and those other kind of sports. Why are you so passionate about that?
Yes, it actually there's a few parts to this story. It all stemmed from pageantry. So in pageants, a lot of girls are always out in their communities. They're giving money to charities. They're creating events. But what really sets you apart as a competitor is if you have your own platform. So not just me volunteering my time with other organizations, which I'll do anyways, but how can I be an initiator of a platform? So when I was thinking of how I wanted to create something that I'm truly passionate about, I grew up as a competitive dancer. My mom was a professional dancer. She danced with Madonna's brother in a company. And I was doing some research, and in Canada, I found out that if a girl has not participated in sports by the age of 10, there's only a 10% chance that she'll be active later in life. And that really resonated with me because as a dancer, it has brought me so much in my life: community, friendships, discipline, physical health, mental wellness. And I thought, I was never good in gym class. I did not think I was an athletic kid because I was not good at basketball. I was not the fastest person, being asthmatic, running around the track. And had I not had dance, based on what I had been exposed to in gym class, I don't think I would have ever been active later in life. I wouldn't have found aerials. I wouldn't have found rowing. I wouldn't have found rock climbing. So I really wanted to give the opportunity specifically for young girls, but for kids in general, to be introduced to sports that were not typically offered in their gym class curriculum. So pre-COVID, I was hosting monthly workshops at a community center where young girls in elementary school could come and try a different sport free of charge, because I didn't want there to be any barriers for girls to be exposed to new sports. Mm-hmm. So we'd had hip hop 1 month, yoga the second. We were a week away from Taekwondo, and then COVID-19 hit. So like everyone back in 2019, 2020, I had to pivot. So I actually hosted a podcast for over a year where I interviewed Canadian women who excelled in non-traditional sports. And when I say non-traditional, I'm talking axe throwing, bowling, barrel racing, mermaid swimming, roller skating, Olympic style weightlifting, you name it, we talked about it. And this all comes back to podcast. I was listening to other pageant podcasts as I was preparing for my next competition. And one of the coaches was talking about ways that we can push ourselves to do more in our communities. And she mentioned how one of her clients had written a children's book. And I thought, wait a minute, I've already done workshops. I've already done a podcast. My sister's an author, although she writes horror books, so totally different spectrum. I don't do scary, so that's her thing. So I thought, I have the support of my sister that if I need an editor, I already have somebody who's a published author. So in 2020, I wrote the first draft of Ronnie the Rock Climber, and it took some time. Finally got published this year. So 5 years down the road, I finally have a book.
Congratulations. That's great. That really is great. And I love, as a dance dad, my daughter, we fibbed and told the dance studio that, yes, my daughter's 4 years, she was 2.5 at the time, because she needed something and she got into dance, and she is now a very successful young woman of 29 and is still dancing recreationally. And anybody who doesn't appreciate the athleticism that dancers need just isn't looking. And the same is true for rock climbing. The same is true for those other sports that you're talking about. It's they're every bit as athletic as a baseball player or a football player.
You just have to make it look easy. And I think that's why people might not associate it with being a sport. But I'm very similar. When I was 2 years old, my mom came into my room and I had gotten out of my crib and climbed up the bookshelf. And she went, the child needs an outlet. So she bolted the bookshelf to the wall. I was put in ballet classes at 2. I started competing when I was 5. And after university, I started becoming a CFL cheerleader. So that's like the NFL for Canada. And now that I'm here in Germany, I'm a dancer and cheerleader for a basketball team. So I'm still dancing.
That is fantastic. And very interesting, that statistic that you quoted about girls who, if you're not moving as a kid and involved, chances are you're not going to move when you're an adult. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes. If a girl hasn't participated in sports by the age of 10, then there's only a 10% chance she'll be active later in life. And maybe that goes back to the story you were saying of maybe I wouldn't have done that climbing adventure now. Maybe it goes back to the fear as we get older, or just you settle into your life and maybe you found your passions in life. But there is a sport for everyone. I am convinced. Yeah. And even being in Paralympic sport, to see there's 2 Paralympic sports that have no Olympic equivalent, boccia and goalball. And so there is a sport out there for everyone. You just need to find it.
My curiosity to speak, boccia and go. Please enlighten me.
Yes. So boccia, you can equivalent it to like a game of chess, kind of like lawn bowls, maybe a bit of curling, where the athlete is sitting in their chair and they have a jack that they're trying to put their ball closest to. So it's 2 competitors and you can either get your ball closest to the jack or you can knock your competitor out of the way. But that is one of the sports where there are varying levels of disability. So you can either throw the ball or you can have a ramp and like a poker attached to your head. So if you have limited mobility, you can nod your head to push the ball down the ramp. And that's how you get your ball closest to the jack. And then goalball is a sport for athletes with visual impairments. And you have a court and everything is raised on the court so the athletes can feel around where they are. And there's a big goalie net in the back. And they whip the ball and it has bells inside. And then you have to block the ball by lying down on the ground with your body. And it's one of my favorite sports to watch live because the audience has to be completely silent when you're watching goalball, and you can hear the athletes strategizing, and then you can hear the ball with the bell bouncing. It's quite a fun sport.
Yeah. Well, I remember as a kid, my dad worked for the New England Telephone, part of the AT&T and Bell Labs and all that. And I remember getting the monthly magazines they sent out to employees, and I don't know if they were the first, but they really pioneered a lot of the adaptive equipment, especially I remember there was bells. They created a softball with bells in it to allow people with visual impairments to play softball, and they could hit the ball and everything.
They even do that with soccer balls as well. They'll put the bells inside. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a sport out there for everyone. And if you have some needs that need to be met, there's an adaptive sport out there for everyone. So that's why I say there is something for every human on this planet. You just need to find it.
Now, are there studies that show that boys who aren't active by the same age are also less likely to be moving in later life?
To be honest, that statistic, I don't know. I think it comes from my background. I went to an all-girls school. Okay. So I was kind of bred in the women can do it all. Let's uplift each other. So this started as being targeted towards young girls. So that was the statistic that really ignited that fire and that passion in me. But I assume it would be something similar. I'm sure boys, if they haven't tried a sport at a young age, they might be a little bit more inclined. Because I feel like, when we're talking about basketball, you say, oh, it's basketball or it's women's basketball, where it's the same sport, but we refer to the quote unquote regular version as just basketball for men. but then we feel the need to say women's basketball. Why can't we just call it basketball for both? So I feel like there would be studies maybe showing that boys have an easier time at finding sports.
Okay.
But that would be something to look into. But it was the female stat that really ignited that fire within me.
Well, I'm glad it ignited that fire, and I'm glad that you're committed to igniting that fire in other girls. Because I know looking at my daughter, that being part of dance just enhanced her life so much in all the areas that you mentioned, both physically and emotionally, with friends and competitions and all of that other stuff. And I think all kids are served by getting out there and learning how to be part of a team and going out and experiencing winning. But I also think it's very, very valuable for kids to experience losing, which is why I was a really good high school soccer coach, but I was a terrible youth soccer coach because the league that recruited me didn't keep score.
Oh.
And I'm like, dudes, every one of these kids knows what the score is. You're the only one who doesn't, and you're kidding yourself if you don't think the kids are keeping score.
And you need a bit of an end goal as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not always about winning for me, especially competing in pageants, because to me that is a sport. The amount of mental coaching, physical prep, you have coaches for walk, for interview, for platform, for wardrobe, for everything. To me, it's the process that I love, especially as a dancer. I love being in the studio and practicing, but you do want to know how you did so that you can reflect and you can improve. And yeah, sport just teaches you so many amazing things. And even as a kid, my mom would always say, if you don't finish your homework, you don't go to dance. And so it taught me so many great time management skills and prioritizing tasks. My homework was always done. I was getting good grades because I was not missing dance class. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. So tell me, Miss United World. I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with a lot of pageants, so not surprising that I'm not familiar with Miss United World. Tell us a little bit about it, please.
Of course. So this is a multi-divisional pageant, which means there are 5 divisions. There's junior teen, teen, Miss, Ms, and Mrs. So I was representing Ms. Canada, which means I won my national title in Canada. And then this past August, I had the opportunity to go to Texas in Round Rock, just outside of Austin, to compete for the title. So over the course of the weekend, we had rehearsals for our opening number. We had interviews on stage and behind closed doors with the judges. We had a blue party where everyone wore blue outfits because that's the color of the pageant. We had orientation where we got to meet the delegates and everyone brought a little gift from their hometowns. So naturally, I had a German gift and a Canadian gift. And I've been doing pageants for almost a decade now, and this was probably one of my favorite pageant experiences just from the sisterhood. And being multi-divisional, you get to meet so many incredible women at different stages of their life, and you really get to connect. And just like myself, I'm out here promoting my platform and what I'm passionate about. You're in a room surrounded by women who are doing the exact same thing about the causes that are important to them. So it's like putting a bunch of superheroes in one room for a weekend, but in high heels and wearing glitz and glam.
So no capes, but just beautiful sashes.
I mean, there's some capes on some dresses, and yeah.
Okay.
Yes, less spandex, though, I would say.
Okay. I love it. Oh boy, you're doing all these wonderful things. It's amazing that you found time to write a children's book.
I mean, I guess that's one of the blessings of the pandemic, because that's when I wrote the first draft. Actually, a little fun fact about it. So my main character, Ronnie, she's in the namesake of my grandfather, Ron, who passed away during the pandemic. And he was the one who bought me my first pair of pointe shoes. So I thought this could be a little nod to my grandpa, Ron. And on the front cover of the book, Ronnie has heterochromia. So one eye is blue and one eye is brown. And my grandpa had heterochromia with the 2 different color eyes. So there's a little nod to him. And then, of course, my sister, Stephanie Ann, being an author, she helped edit. And then going back to being from an all-girls school, my best friend is actually an illustrator. So it's my best friend from the 8th grade who is the illustrator of the book.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
I think the pandemic really gave us that opportunity to focus on this project. And it's not for the faint of heart. It took 5 years between multiple drafts and finding a publisher that worked for us and having to find a new publisher when the first one didn't work and when the second one didn't work. But it goes to show the resilience of if we have a story to share, we're going to share it. We're so passionate about this project and getting the word out there. And it was always one of my goals to have this book available in public libraries, especially across Canada. And just last week, Ronnie the Rock Climber became available in print and ebook at the Ottawa Public Library main branch in Ontario, Canada.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. So we're getting there. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen overnight, but we're getting there.
So you've been talking about having all these dreams and a cheerleader for the CFL, cheerleader now in Bonn for a basketball team, Ms. United World, children's author, working for the International Paralympic Committee. I guess you've reached all of your goals and you can just sit back now and not have to worry about anything. Or am I wrong? Do you have other goals that you're looking forward to accomplishing?
Yes, the wheel never stops turning. I've always been one of those people. My mom said she used to pick me up from kindergarten and I'd say, where are we going? Who are we seeing? What are we doing? So I definitely do have some goals. Before moving to Germany, I was thinking about doing a master's program. So that's still potentially on the table. I would like to continue living my expat life. So potentially thinking about moving to another country at some point. Not right now, quite busy with the Paralympic Games. I would love in the future to make Ronnie the Rock Climber a series and have different girls finding different passions through life through different sports. Mm-hmm. And then I have some personal pageant goals that I hope to accomplish this year, but I'll keep those a secret. And if people follow me at Ms. United World on Instagram, then they can follow along with that journey.
All right. Well, that sounds great. And before we go, the Paralympics are going to be starting in a few months. Can you kind of talk about that? What in particular are you working on?
Yes. So I'm in the communications team. So I work for digital media. So anything that you see online about the Paralympics, that's the team effort. So it will be taking place from March 6th to 15th. That's the Paralympics. So that's 2 weeks after the Olympics end. And the competition does not end with the Olympics. I like to say that it's the warm-up. You'll see so many incredible sports. There are 6 Paralympic sports that are going to be offered on the program. So you have para-alpine, para-biathlon, para-cross country, para-snowboard, wheelchair curling, and para-ice hockey. And in the past few games, it's always been Canada versus US in the gold medal game for hockey. So that's going to be something very exciting to watch. So wherever you are in the world, there's definitely a way to stream the Paralympics and follow along with all the action because these athletes are competing at the highest level of sport. And it's incredible. I mean, if you think alpine skiing is amazing, imagine an athlete with a visual impairment who's going down a mountain at 100 kilometers an hour, not being able to see the slope, having a guide in front of them telling them where to go. Mm-hmm. So the Paralympics are definitely not something to be missed.
No, yeah. And here in Boston, there are a number of very active Paralympic hockey teams. And so I've seen some of those games. They don't play around.
No.
They're banging as hard as anybody in the NHL.
To be honest, now that I watch an NHL game after seeing so many para ice hockey games live, NHL seems kind of boring. Like you have these guys on sleds and they have their hockey sticks. They have one in each hand with picks on the bottom and they're muscling their way down the ice using their picks. And then they flip it over in a second to get to the blade or I don't know what the other side, the blade end to shoot the puck. It goes under the sled. They pass it to their teammate and then they're racing down again, all muscle arm power to the other end. It's fantastic to watch and it's always high intensity.
Yeah. We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Ronnie the Rock Climber and find out more about you, Erin.
Yes, so my personal journey you can follow at Ms. MS United World on Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to follow the whole pageant system and what all the other girls are doing, you can follow United World Pageants on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And then Ronnie the Rock Climber is available anywhere that you purchase your books, for print books and ebooks.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Ronnie the Rock Climber. Our guest has been Ms. United World, Erin Chapman. Hey, Erin, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids. And let's get going on that next book in the series so you can come back on.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'll definitely let you know when that happens. We have some ideas in the works.
This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Trumpet, the Miracle Wolf Pup series. There's a brand new book in the series, and we're so excited to tell you all about it. Trumpet becomes a mom. In this exciting book, Trumpet and Lighthawk, now a bonded pair, start their own family with their very first litter of pups. Families can read together, schools can explore the importance of wolf packs in conservation, and Trumpet fans everywhere can celebrate this milestone in her incredible journey. Grab your copy today. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, select bookstores, and the Wolf Conservation Center, where Trumpet and her family live. Plus, 50% of all profits go right back to supporting the Wolf Conservation Center, with more donated to Lighthawk Conservation Flying. So grab your book today and have a group haul for Trumpet and her family. Join us right now from Charlotte in North Carolina. Our guest is here today to celebrate his series of great picture books. We're going to be celebrating Ernest's book of Ernest's Bridge of I Will. Please welcome to the show, Joe Woods. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Jed. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. Thanks for being here. We're both wearing our signature formal hoodies here for the interview. I'm very impressed. It's a lovely blue hoodie you have on, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's about the adventures of Cat and Hamster. That's what it's about, Jed.
All right. Excellent. So tell us about Cat and Hamster. What's this series all about?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for giving me the time and the opportunity to share the adventures of Cat and Hamster. It's the universe, Jed. I created this universe to help children grow emotionally and think creatively, and also to believe in their own potential. And it's a relationship, an unfamiliar relationship between a cat and a hamster, two unlikely friends, Jed, who go on an imaginative journey throughout all these different series, which is the whole universe, and they mirror real emotions that children experience on a day-to-day basis. And through these stories, I'm hoping, and I know that kids will learn and be encouraged and become more encouraged and compassionate, become more problem solvers, as well as how to understand these big feelings, but make them small at the same time in very simple ways. So that is the universe in the adventures of Cat and Hamster.
Well, this is a message and a lesson that we absolutely need here today. It seems like a lot of people are spending an awful lot of time putting labels on themselves to kind of prove that they belong to this group and not that group. And I remember growing up when the idea was, let's take the labels off and let's just let that human label be identify us.
I would agree with you so much. It's a great book that's also out there. It's called The Whole Brain Child by Daniel Siegman and Tina Bryson. And they talked about the downstairs brain, right? Which is the emotional part, the reactive part of us as humans, as well as the upstairs brain, right? The reason and reflective. And I think within Ernest's Bridge of I Will, and that's what I really tap into, the emotional, the reflection, the upstairs, the downstairs brain of the children to help us become more emotionally strong and not so much into labels and be who we truly authentically can be. Because you think about all my adventures, Jed, from the whole series of the Adventures of Cat and Hamster. These books are building steps. They're building stones. They're planks to a bridge. From awareness to don't judge, to empathy, which allow others space, and then to courage, which is Ernest's Bridge of I Will. It allows them all the steps in this bridge of Ernest's Bridge of I Will.
Yeah. What inspired you to create this series?
That is great. And what inspired me to create this series is my own personal experience with anxiety and depression. I had a severe panic attack, and I thought I was actually having a heart attack. And Cat and Hamster were bedtime stories that I told my son every night about a cat and a hamster. He came up with the Cat and Hamster. And so after I got up telling that story to my son that night, that's when I started having those serious panic attacks. And it was just involved in me to deal with emotions, my reactivity to life and what life brought to me. And I took the Cat and the Hamster that my son and I talked about from a bedtime story, and I put those two characters together. And once I saw my children growing up through life even more, Jed, when I saw them not handling emotions well with their friends, fighting over the ball, fighting over space in a room, it kind of helped me to kind of go back and reset and recalibrate and say, hey, take the cat and the hamster, teach kids to be stronger emotional. Because all they are and all we are as adults are just big kids that didn't maybe regulate our emotions as we got bigger. And so how can I start at an early age to make it better for us as older ages?
Yeah. Boy, that must have been terrifying for you, reading stories for your kids, being a dad, being a loving dad, wanting the best for your kids, and then thinking, oh, my goodness, I'm having a heart attack.
It was, yeah. It was very shocking, and I had to go to the emergency room, and once I found out it was a panic attack, I had no idea what anxiety was or what panic attacks was. Even though I had a master's degree in education and psychology, I never really delved into that side of myself. But then I kind of helped regulate myself through therapy, through talking to my counselors and all those things. I had to realize that in the whole facet of all this universe of the Adventures of Cat and Hamster is to be good to yourself. And so that's what I believe the tenets of the books are. Is to help children to be good to themselves and live in a new world, a new environment that's fighting all the time for their mind and for their attention. But how can they continue to be good to themselves and continue to grow into that whole brain child as we become adults as well?
Yeah. As somebody with a background and expertise in psychology and education, I think a lot of us, kind of just figured, this emotion stuff, we just learn that naturally. We got to teach kids, right. We got to teach kids how to count and read, but that emotion stuff, that nature takes care of that itself. I guess that attitude is a little bit wrong.
Yes, sir. Because over time and you think about Carol Dweck wrote a book called Growth Mindset versus Fixed Mindset, right? Mm-hmm. Over time, we have to continue to grow ourselves and not become fixed in our mindsets and our beliefs. And I think with the foundational books of Ernest's Bridge of Our Will and the Adventures of Cat and Hamster, it helps us to continue to grow along that continuum, to cross over these bridges, to help us deal with our emotions as we deal with things. Because I talk about these 8 tenets, Jed, when you look at all my books, there's 8 foundational tenets. I think that we as adults and as well as children, if we could grab these 8 tenets, I think we'll be on that course to understanding and regulating our emotions. And I'll share these 8 tenets with you very, very shortly. The first one is, and it's based upon the center of I will. I will do no judging. Don't judge ourselves or our environments or our emotions too quickly. Number 2, I will allow others space. And we have to always be willing to allow others space as they allow us space. And I will share and I will listen, which goes to a counseling perspective. It goes to a listening perspective. I will do something different. We always have to be available to do things different because sometimes that fixed mindset, that fixed emotion, or those fixed thoughts will keep us in a place that we will not want to do something different. And I think I will do something different and I'll be supportive. And sometimes when we get caught up in our emotions, we don't support others. We become more intra-focused. I will support others. I will stop and breathe. That is the caveat to it all because even when Ernest's Bridge of I Will, Jed, that bridge is really the connection between the heart and the mind. The heart and the mind is breath. And that breath is stopping and breathing and enjoying that breath. And I will not take it personal. And many times in life, whether we're children or we become adults, we take a lot of things personal. We think the universe is out to get us personally. We think people pull it out in front of us sometimes personally. We think just because we may have gotten laid off of a job or a kid took their toy from me or they want to go home, we'll take it personally. So I will not take things personally. And the last thing is the big one. I will own my emotions. Those are the 8 tenets that all of this universe is built around. The activities, the books, the animation series that I've built as well, the board game series to create more continuity in the family and the home to create communication, the children's playing app. It's all built around those center tenets, those 8 tenets of Ernest's Bridge of I Will. And I will live into those and I believe in those.
Yeah. I agree with all of them. Some of them are kind of tough, especially that I will not take things personally.
I know, right?
Man, I'm almost 100 years old and I think I've grown a lot, but boy, there are times when, it's really hard not to take things personally.
It's really hard. That's a challenge. And the I will part, see, if you think about it, Jed, why I will? And that's what I kept asking myself, Joe, why I will? And I want families to understand. I want parents to understand, even the children to understand. I chose the word I will because it offers ownership. Not an I can, because I can kind of give you just a little bit of hope, right?
Mhm.
And you can say, well, I must do this. I must not take, well, that puts pressure on ourselves. If we say, I must do something, that adds pressure to us, right? And, or I need to. Sometimes we say, I need to do this. I need to go do this. That makes us dependent sometimes. But I will. It voices the belief, the encouragement, and the fortitude, and the ownership.
I like that. I think that's really important. The whole idea of I will. This is my choice. I'm making this choice. I'm not doing it because I need to. I'm not doing it because someone else is telling me to. It's doing it because I'm choosing to, and I'm going to go for it.
Correct. If you think about it, Jet, when a young child says, I will, they step away. They step waiting for courage now. They start creating it. They start creating courage. They're not stepping and waiting on courage. They decided to create it when they say, I will. And that's what it's about. Create the things you want in your environment by saying, I will.
Yeah. Tell me, what's the reaction been to the Cat and Hamster series?
It's been phenomenal. Just like this weekend for Black Friday, I spent the whole day in the mall promoting the books, the children's series, activities, and library people walking through as well. I've reached out to several libraries here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, spoken to a lot of children through the libraries, have done major vendor fairs in different parts of North Carolina as well. It's been very receptive. It has really started to really hone in and change children's perspectives of how they see things now. Many kids are starting to say, I will. Not I can, I must, but I will. It's been phenomenal to see the children, particularly in my neighborhood as well. They all come and read the books together. They all talk about the subjects of the books together, and they all share with their kids in school too, their friends in school. So it's been a phenomenal, and it's been going on now for almost 2 to 3 years. Ernest Bridge, if I would, just began to try to hit his landscape, but before then we had Jump in the Stream, which was the foundational book of all of this. So when the cat and hamster got lost in the woods and they had to find their way home, and they went through many obstacles, they had to jump that stream. And sometimes in life, we do have to jump some streams. And that's what that adventure is all about, too.
All right. This is exciting. Tell me, what was it like being in the mall on Black Friday? Did you have to cover up and protect yourself from some crazy shoppers at times?
No, sir. It was actually really good because once they saw the universe, when they saw the books and they heard the topics of really what it was about, social emotional learning, they all stepped right in and they tapped right in, because it's one of those things that children have kind of gotten away from more books. They gotten more to more technology. So how can I put them back from technology the best way we can to get them more interactive, to get them more conversational, to talk more, to express their feelings more? So it was really, really great having families, having their children come by. And I had my animation series playing on my desk. So the kids saw the animations of the Adventures of Cat and Hamster playing. So they would come by and watch the cartoon while I talked to their parents. And each time the parents were getting a theory of the books as well, but the children were still getting the stories through the animations as well.
Yeah. Tell me, are there support materials for parents who might be a little bit nervous about I don't have a master's degree in psychology. I can't teach this stuff.
Oh, that's a great question, Jed. If you go to my website, jumpinthestream.com, there's so many activities, free activities that parents can download themselves and at home and have their children do all these activities with them. And they all tap into Ernest Bridge of I Will. They talk to emotional regulation, self-awareness as well, understanding how to see a frown and a smile, helping them understand their day. How did they go through the day? Write about your day. What was your day like? How do you feel when you're sad? All those things are free on my website, and parents can download them and work through those activities with their children at home.
Yeah. It's almost like someone should think about creating a series for parents before they become parents. You sit down with them and go, okay, maybe 9 months from now, maybe a year from now, you're going to have these little ones, and you're going to be their first and most important teacher. So here's some things you might want to deal with. And I mean, I know I could have used that. I think my son was 3 or 4 years old when finally I said, man, I am yelling too much. I got to stop yelling. And I actually kept the record, little scorecard every day at the end of the day. Did I yell today? Nope. Great. I can put that, tick that down.
Yes, sir. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. We do need a manual.
Hey, if you had a magic wand and could make the dreams you have for the Cat and Hamster series come true, what would that look like? What would that the dream vision for you and your series be?
I think the dream vision for me and my series would be that in every home, that the family, the children, and as well as the parents will understand that the I will is the most important thing. What I will to do and what I will to be would be the most important thing. If that could run throughout society and throughout each home based upon the adventures of Cat and Hamster, then I think that would be successful, because each story along the adventures of Cat and Hamster helps kids cross from reaction to reflection. And that's that emotional leadership that I think I would love to see, and that one thing could happen by those 8 tenants as well.
Awesome. Hey, we have to get you out to some of those protests where people on this side and that side are yelling at each other. Maybe you can get in the middle and go, okay, guys, let's come here. We're going to have a big story time. Get in a big circle. We're going to talk about, I will learn how to get along with each other.
Yes, and I will do something different, which means sometimes I have to change my mindset. I have to be willing to change my mindset to do something different. Because as I talked about, Carol Dweck talks about a fixed mindset, growth mindset. Sometimes we have to be willing to continue to grow our mindsets. And that's what the series and Adventures of Cat and Hamster is about, for children starting at a younger age, so they don't become adults that are fixed in their mindsets.
Yeah. Hey, let's tell everybody again. You mentioned your website earlier. Tell everybody again where we can go to find out all about Ernest's Bridge of I Will and the whole series.
JumpingTheStream.com or Adventures of Cat and Hamster on Instagram. YouTube is Adventures of Cat and Hamster as well. I tell many stories. I take animation clips and discuss those 8 tendencies throughout those stories as well. But JumpingTheStream.com is where you can get all of the universe items, whether that's the family board game to talk with your kids at night and play games with your family, and go back to rolling the dice and playing like a sorry game with each other. If you also want to download a free app to play on the game, it's your kids are always into technology, but guess what? The Adventures of Cat and Hamster, the app that's on iOS and on Android, it doesn't hijack the dopamine levels of your children. It offers exercise in the middle of the game as well. So while they're playing, it'll tell them to stop, do push-ups, do sit-ups, do jumping jacks, and then continue on to build the bridge of I Will at the end of the game. It'll also have those tenets in it as well. But all of these things can be found on JumpingTheStream.com.
I love it. We've had a really wonderful time speaking to the founder and the driving force behind JumpingTheStream.com. Our guest has been Joe Woods. Joe, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, I want to let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Chicken Coop Chaos by Nancy Tavares. Are you ready for some barnyard fun your kids will absolutely adore? Then you've got to check out Nancy Tavares' delightful books, Chicken Coop Chaos and Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas. In the original Chicken Coop Chaos, we meet Pearl, a hen who loves peace, order, and a tidy little hen house. But when Window the Rooster barges in and decides he's not leaving, Pearl has to hatch a clever plan to take back her space. And let's just say things get hilariously chaotic. And just in time for the holidays, Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas brings even more laughs, heart, and festive feathered fun. These books are perfect for young readers, classrooms, and family read-aloud time. So flap on over to your favorite bookstore or online retailer and grab your copies of Chicken Coop Chaos and Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas today. Your kids will be clucking with joy. Well, tell us, first off, I'm really excited that you're here. In 2 days' time, the world will be celebrating World Read Aloud Day. Did you ever imagine when you were growing up in school that someday that you'd be looked at as a literacy advocate and somebody celebrating World Read Aloud Day?
I would have never guessed that in a million years. I grew up in an environment that promoted athletics. And while academic achievement was relevant in the lives of some children, it wasn't prominent in the community that I was surrounded by. So this reality of me being a children's book author, having a nonprofit organization, being a crusader for literacy, I think is more evidence to prove how reading can really reshape and empower your life. Because it's through reading that I've been able to take on these new adventures.
Yeah. Certainly, it is, we've had a number of different advocates for reading on the show. LeVar Burton was on the show early on in the podcast life. And one of the things he said that was really eye-opening for me was he said that reading was emancipating. And it really was the key that opened up the world for so many different people.
Well, one of our national icons, Frederick Douglass, contributed reading to his ability to be a free man. Mm-hmm. That's a powerful statement to make. Oprah made the same statement in regards to acclaiming her success. And when you have people of that stature, Warren Buffett saying reading is what allowed him to be the successful businessman that he is, I think that's evidence to prove that reading is not just simply reciting words on a page. It's empowering, it's emancipating, it gives you the tool that's necessary to excel in whichever direction you want to go. When I speak to children, I say reading, and this kind of dates me a little bit, at least for the younger audience. I say reading for our brain is like spinach for Popeye.
Yeah, it really is. And it's when you have a kid, and it sounds like you struggled reading, and at some point in your life you just got turned onto it. Do you remember the moment or the week or the year that changed for you?
2012, I believe, is when I became more aware of my issues with reading, and when I also discovered the importance of being a reader. I was in my English 1102 class as a all SEC freshman of the year, praised and loved around campus for my athletic ability. But I remember in that classroom when the teacher asked the student to volunteer to read, how petrified and scared I was that I'd be the student she called on, because I knew about my inability to confidently and proficiently read a passage. And I did not want to feel that way. I felt inferior. I felt less than, and I wanted to strive to be a better version of me. I did not only want to be the best athlete I can be, but I wanted to be the best person. Mm-hmm. And it's through watching interviews with Warren Buffett, it's through watching interviews with Oprah Winfrey that I kind of discovered that in the central theme in all of these people's life, something that they all mentioned at some point was books and reading. So I said to myself, if I want to be the best version of me, I have to introduce books and reading and it was really tough. It was difficult. I had went 19 years and had never voluntarily picked up a book and read on my own. So when I started that process, it was difficult. It was, some words were too big, some sentences were too long, some books were way too thick. But I kind of took a very football fundamental-like approach, and I started with children's books, which explains why I became a children's book author.
That's, it's a beautiful story. I really love it, but it's also infuriating to think that a young man can get through high school, get to college, and not be a proficient reader here in, well, anywhere, but especially here in the United States.
I hate to say it, but the standards for athletes are lower than the standards for others. And that's just the reality. And I don't think that will ever change, unfortunately. Yeah. My SAT score did not need to be what another student who wasn't an athlete needed to be. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of the situation.
Well, I'm happy that you, found a way for yourself. And it must have taken, I think a lot of kids in that same situation would just kind of look for ways to keep that secret instead of having the courage to kind of admit to yourself that I need some help. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to read this picture book. I'm going to read this middle grade novel because that's where I'm at right now, and I want to get better.
Right. Yeah, I had never thought about it in that regard when I was going through the process. Now, we're looking back on it, everything's in hindsight. It does seem a bit interesting that I decided to do that. But it's all about, for me, it was all about being a better me. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't about being embarrassed. It was only about how can I do a better job at being my best self. And once I realized that reading was actually helping me do that, it became very important to me to share that with students who grew up in environments that I grew up in, who don't fully understand the benefits of being a reader, who can't make the connection between being literate and having long-term financial freedom or just success in general. So me sharing that I struggle to read was not a big deal because I realized that there are millions of people who do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. I love your Share the Magic Foundation. Tell us a little bit about that and what kind of things you folks are doing.
I started Share the Magic Foundation in 2016, and our mission is to introduce book ownership into the lives of students who can't afford books, and also to inspire kids to read to a better future. Right now, we are hosting our biggest virtual reading challenge of the year, which is called Read Bowl, and it's an opportunity for kids around the country to compete to see who can read the most minutes within a 4-week time span. So we have virtual events. We were doing in-school events until COVID came about, so we slowed down that. We do a lot of book ownership initiatives where we try to raise money to provide books for children in communities where books are not prevalent. I think the phrase they use is book deserts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. Why do you think it's so important when, we have public libraries, we have the free little public libraries all around? Why do you think it's so important for kids to own their own books?
Well, there's been studies that have provided me with the information that you can encourage a child to read all you want. If they don't have a book to read, well, how do they put it into practice? Mm-hmm. And there's also been studies that have shown that 1 in 300 children in low-income communities don't have age-appropriate books. So from my perspective, if I want to encourage a child to read, I need to ensure that they have a book to read as well. Mm-hmm. There's also been some studies that have talked about the benefits of a child seeing books in the home, giving them more confidence to pick one up, them becoming more comfortable being surrounded by books. There's plenty of reasons of why book ownership is important, but for me, it comes down to if I want to inspire a child to read, they need to have a book to read.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, a great book for a kid to read would be my very favorite book in the whole wide world. Can you tell us a little bit about this book?
Yes, I wrote this story with my personal journey in mind. There's a character named Henley who struggles with reading. But his teacher gives him this assignment to find his very favorite book in the whole wide world. And he goes on this treasure hunt trying to find that book. He gets help from a librarian. He gets help from a bookstore owner. He gets help from his mother. But the catch, and I won't share too much because I would like for you to read it, but the catch is Henley actually never finds his very favorite book in the whole wide world. He does something even more powerful. And I'll leave it at that.
All right. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Until then, please be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Erin Chapman. Please be sure to check out Miss United World's book, Ronnie the Rock Climber. Joe Woods, please be sure to check out The Earnest Bridge of I Will. Also want to thank Malcolm Mitchell for joining us long ago. Please be sure to check out everything Malcolm Mitchell is doing. I want to thank my team, Christopher Doherty, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. You are amazing. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you for helping to make the world a better, kinder, more empathetic place. You do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.